It's 5 o'clock. I'd like to call this special meeting of the City Council of Jacksonville Beach to order. Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call?
Councilmember Demont,
Here.
Golding, here. Jansen,
Here.
Mesa,
Here.
Nichols,
Here.
Stokes, Mayor Hoffman.
Here, and we have Attorney Cliff Shepard joining us via Zoom. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Over to Mr. Staffopoulos to give us some background in preparation for our action items this meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. There are several actions for City Council consideration this evening, and it is stemming from the special meeting that was held last week on March 25th. It had become aware to the city the middle of last week that the city attorney had been arrested, and a special meeting was held to determine how to proceed forward. At that meeting on March 25th, there were 3 directions that were given to staff. The first one was placing the city attorney on paid administrative leave beginning on March 24th until further notice. The second was authorizing the mayor to direct the city attorney to refrain from accessing city properties or facilities or from contacting employees until further notice. And the third one, which is why we're here tonight, was directing city staff to prepare a resolution for termination of the city attorney's employment agreement in accordance with the provisions of the city charter. The city has prepared, with the assistance of our outside legal counsel, Cliff Shepard, resolution number 2081-2021 for consideration tonight. This will start the process of termination of the city attorney's employment agreement with the city of Jacksonville Beach. And it will follow the process that is outlined in our charter, which has effectively a 30-day window within which the city attorney can request a hearing in front of this board, and that the termination shall not take place any earlier than the 30-day window. If the resolution is adopted tonight, there would need to be a second resolution adopted by council with a supermajority vote of 5 in order for the final termination to become effective. The second thing that adopting this resolution would do tonight is officially suspending the city attorney from his official duties. During that period of suspension, the city attorney will continue to be paid until the effective date of termination in accordance with Section 34 of the city charter. Similar to the position that he's in now, the compensation for regularly scheduled hours will be paid using accrued personal, vacation, and sick leave. And after those are exhausted, the city will continue to pay compensation until the effective date of termination in accordance with the city charter. The third thing that will occur with the adoption of this resolution is authorizing the city manager or my designee to take any and all steps necessary to effectuate the intent of the resolution consistent with the employment agreement and the city charter. We would take the steps necessary to prepare notice to be sent to the city attorney, informing him of the actions taken by council, affording him the opportunity to request a hearing, and advising him of the status of his compensation and benefits. If he requests a hearing, one will be scheduled accordingly, and another special meeting would also be set for consideration of the final resolution for termination when and if appropriate. You'll notice that there's some additional language where we need some direction from council tonight with regards to the issues of additional pay and some of the health benefits that are currently in effect. In accordance with his employment agreement, there is a base salary that the city attorney receives. However, there are some additional pays that are not necessarily covered by the language of the charter. And those are referenced as insurance supplement, automobile allowance, bar certification stipend, and the pension opt-out supplement. So we'd be looking for some direction from the council on that tonight. There are 3 actions that are in front of you under the requested actions. The first is to adopt or deny the resolution. The second is to approve or disapprove termination of the city attorney's additional pays effective April 1st, 2021, which would be tomorrow. And the third action would be approve or disapprove the termination of the city attorney's health, dental, vision, and life insurance benefits effective June 1st of 2021. Again, we do have Cliff Shepard on the phone with us here tonight or through Zoom. In the event that you have any questions related to the charter provisions or the employment agreement that he can provide assistance with. We also have Deputy City Manager Nelson here as well in case you have any financially related questions. And with that, we'll turn it over to the council.
Thank you, Mr. Staffopoulos. Based on our last special meeting, it seems like there was at least a majority of this body had the will to go ahead and proceed with this resolution. So I was going to go ahead and take each action item one at a time. versus discussing as a whole, if that's okay with everybody. Madam Clerk, will you please read the resolution by title?
A resolution of the city of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, to terminate the city attorney under section 5B of his employment agreement, providing for adoption of recitals, prior repeal of prior inconsistent resolutions and council decisions, severability, and an effective date.
Thank you. Can we have a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2081-2021 to terminate the city attorney under section 5B of his employment agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Ms. Dumont?
Thank you. On the third bullet point, he admits to yelling at the victim. In the police report, he yelled to the victim, not at the victim. I yell to my husband often. I don't yell at my husband. And I think that that is a critical piece that we want to make sure that it matches the language used in the report. So I make a motion to change the third bullet. He admits to yelling to the victim, not at the victim.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Is there any discussion on that change? Mr. Jansen, is your comment relevant to the amendment? Okay. Any comments on this amendment? Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Demont,
Yes.
Golding,
yes,
Jansen,
Yes.
Mesa,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Stokes, Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. The resolution is amended. Is there any other discussion on the main resolution? Mr. Jansen?
Yes, I just wanted to bring up, and maybe this is a question for Clifford, Councilperson Golding brought up the code of ethics last time, and they're not mentioned in this. Do we not want to put a bullet point in reference to that, or we want to avoid that?
Well, the answer to the question is we have really kept to the portions of the documents that were sent to us. I'm aware of the code of ethics, but when we look at the contract, I think if I understand it, Mike and I discussed this, I think if I understand it correctly, there is a section of the code of ethics that would make it clear that it applies to the city attorney. But what is absolutely clear to me is that what is already put forth is sufficient to terminate him for cause. If there is a desire to add the code of ethics as a reference point, there's no problem in doing so, but I kind of stuck to what the original issue was, which was his arrest and what he admitted to in the arrest already. We don't know what he would say, although I assume that it's fairly obvious that he's violated the code of ethics, but he hasn't specifically answered to that. But the report, if it can be trusted, are in theory his words. And so that's why I chose what I chose.
Sure, I just didn't know. I didn't know if that's not something we could add later on. This was my understanding that we're
Well, actually, if you read the resolution, and I'm trying to get to the right page of it, there is a section in which we say that we can add whatever additional grounds we need to. It's the last whereas clause, the city reserves the right to amend this resolution to set forth additional grounds for termination of Mr. Ambrosio for cause under section 5B and of the employment agreement, or to amend a termination without cause as information becomes available. So I anticipate, although we will see what happens, that there will be some sort of a dialogue between Mr. Staphopoulos, perhaps myself, I'm not sure about that, and Mr. Ambrosio. And at that time, if a voluntary resignation becomes a possibility, then this becomes a moot point, arguably. And if not, that would be a reasonable time to point out to him the ethics code and have him agree or disagree as to whether or not he thinks it's been violated. The problem we're going to have in dealing with Mr. Ambrosio is that he has a right against self-incrimination, but he doesn't have a right to not answer our reasonable questions related to his employment. And so he's kind of in a sticky wicket, I guess would be a way to put that.
sure. And now that you point that out, I remember reading it, and I'm satisfied with that.
Thank you, Mr. Jansen. Ms. Dumont?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to reply to Mr. Jansen's piece. If I recall last week's meeting, it was noted that because that is not noted as a fireable offense in his contract, it's it's something we want to stay a little bit away from. And the first whereas clause on page 2 kind of captures everything that would fall within the ethics piece. So I'm comfortable with the resolution as written, as amended.
Thank you, Ms. Dumont. Any other comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call on the resolution as amended?
Councilmember Golding. Yes. Jansen,
Yes.
Mesa,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Stokes,
Yes.
Demott,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, the motion carries. If you guys could be cognizant of your microphones, just turn them off when you're not speaking, if you don't mind. Can we get a motion on the second action item?
I move that we approve termination of the city attorney's additional pay effective April 1st, 2021.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Staffopoulos covered this briefly in his overview. Does anyone have any questions on this item or anything else to add? Ms. Dumont.
Thank you. I don't have a question on it, but I would say that insurance supplement, auto allowance, spa certification stipend, and the pension opt-out stipend are kind of not being used right now, and I strongly would support the termination of those benefits.
Any other comments from the council? Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Mesa,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Stokes,
Yes.
Demott,
Yes.
Golding. Yes. Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, the motion carries. Action item 3, can we get a motion?
I move that we approve termination of the city attorney's health, dental, vision, and life insurance benefits effective June 1st, 2021.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from council? Ms. Dumont.
More of a question. June 1st would be the termination of his 30-day, the additional 30 at the end of the second time that we have to vote on this.
That actually depends upon when he served with the resolution. I believe it's Mike's intention, excuse me, Mr. Stefopoulos' intention to have him served tomorrow through whatever means, whether a process server or a police officer or some method. But the way that your charter reads, the termination is effective 30 days after he is served. So tomorrow doesn't count because you never count the day he's actually received that. You start counting day 1 as the next day. So it might be that it turns out to be June 1, but it might be later. Depends on when he's actually served.
Okay, thank you.
If I could add some clarification, we expect that the 30 days could be May 2nd, as early as May 2nd. However, all of these benefits, health, dental, vision, life insurance, those are paid at the beginning of the month. And so for all employees, they terminate at the end of the month during which the termination takes place.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on this motion? Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Mesa,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Stokes,
Yes.
Demott,
Yes.
Golding. Yes. Jansen,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. That completes our action items for today. Mr. Staffopoulos, you were looking for some requested direction?
Yes, as we indicated, there's actually a process that's going to take 30+ days from tonight until the actual termination occurs. And that's obviously a lot to be hanging over the organization and the community as we move forward. Based on our discussions with Mr. Shepherd, and you heard him made reference to it tonight, there's always the possibility that there is an alternative remedy to allow us to move forward quicker. So I'd be looking for council's direction, whether or not we should reach out to Mr. Ambrosio to see if there's a solution that may be amenable to both parties to actually end this quicker than the 30+ days.
Ms. Dumont.
Thank you. I would strongly support you reaching out to Mr. Ambrosio, if for no other reason, to see if he would be willing to resign. And by doing so, we could then start searching for a new city attorney. We have a lot going on right now, and we need a city attorney on board ASAP. So I would fully support you reaching out to him.
Ms. Golding.
And I would second that.
Mr. Stokes.
I would third that and just say that it's also a good thing to do to possibly save us some money if we can get this process done quicker. Maybe we can get the life insurance, health, all the insurance, and everything done within quicker than 30 days and get them off payroll quicker than 30 days from now, 30 plus days, excuse me.
Ms. Dumont?
Yes, thank you. I did have a question semi-related to this. In last week's meeting, we were told that it was going to be researched about the with cause, without cause, if you have to wait an additional 30 days to go without cause versus the with cause. Has there research been done? And if so, what have been the results of that?
I'll let Mr. Shepherd address it, but I believe that's why that last whereas clause exists. That if there is a shift from the council to termination from with cause to without cause, it can be handled by a modification of the resolution upon the second reading and not have to restart the clock at 30 days.
And that legally holds up? That's a legally sound process?
Yeah, he's been served, or he will be served with the termination notice resolution as well as the grounds for termination. And the reason it holds up if you change to a not for cause is because you don't have to have cause under an at-will contract, which yours is. So the only reason that we're doing the for cause findings is so that we can avoid paying him the 20-week severance pay. If we were simply willing to get rid of him and pay him the 20 weeks, our resolution would be much simpler.
Then related to that, if this were to fail, he doesn't want to resign, we end up having on the last day switch from with cause to without cause, are we going to owe him the back additional pay that we just voted to not grant him?
If you switch to we're not going to go down the for cause road, we're going to just say it's an at-will termination, then yes, because the only way you can avoid paying him the severance is for a for cause determination, which has now been made but could be retracted. If you want to then take it to the next step, why would you retract it, which is the logical next question? It is to avoid any potential for lawsuits or other nastiness between the city attorney or former city attorney, I guess soon to be, and the council. So that's always a consideration that you have within your reach. That's one of the reasons why I think it's a wise decision by council to empower Mr. Stefopoulos to reach out to Chris and see if this can be worked out in a way that provides some certainty to the city, perhaps in exchange for release. Some benefits could be provided for a bit longer, things of that nature, but the discussion can't happen until he's authorized. And so you're authorizing him to do that tonight is a step in the right direction.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Mesa?
Mr. Stefopoulos, has the Florida Bar Association reached out to the city about removing his bar license or anything?
We have not had any contact from the Florida Bar.
All right, thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
I believe I have my direction, Madam Mayor.
Wonderful. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. My water was blocking your light. Go ahead, Mr.
Sorry,
Stokes.
my last question is, do we have a threshold on what we would be willing to offer that would be amenable for us? So where we're coming out ahead financially and also in the public eye as well.
We've not discussed one, nor would I suggest we discuss one in this public venue.
All right, so more to come on that after Mr. Stefopoulos has a chance to speak with Mr. Ambrosio. Are there any other comments or items for this meeting? Thank you for joining us, Mr. Shepherd, and thank you to
My
the staff
pleasure.
team who made it possible for you to Zoom in with us.
Yes, that was a major feat today.
We appreciate you guys all being here for this special council meeting, but that is now adjourned.